Good afternoon. The Senate Committee on Natural Resources will now come to order. Members and presenters, please remember to mute your microphone when you are not speaking. At this time, I will proceed to call the roll while the Secretary takes note. Senator Brooks.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Goicoechea.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Hansen.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Scheibel.
Here.
Thank you. And for the record, I am here as well. Seeing that we've reached the quorum, we shall proceed. Thank you. Welcome everyone to our second meeting for the Senate Committee on Natural Resources. Before we begin, I would like to take a few short moments again to remind you and explain how our virtual committee meetings will work, since this is a new process for all of us. As you know, the legislative building is currently closed to the public, so all committee meetings will be held virtually, meaning that committee members, staff, and everyone else will participate either through Zoom, video conference, or by telephone. However, there are various ways that members of the public can engage with us and participate throughout this entire process. As in previous sessions, all committee-related information is available on the Nevada Electronic Legislative Information System, or NELIS, which is accessible through the legislature's website. There are 4 ways that you can engage with our committee. These include registering to participate in a committee meeting through the NELIS system, which places you in line to testify for a bill or to provide public comment during the meeting. You can either submit written testimony to the committee's email address or fax number listed on the agenda. You can share your opinion via the legislature's opinion application on NELIS, or last but not least, you can view committee meetings online through NELIS or on the legislature's YouTube channel. To testify on a bill or provide public comment during the 2021 legislative session, members of the public must first register for the meeting you would like to participate in. Committee meetings are listed in several places on NELIS, and to register, simply click on the participate button near the meeting date and time, then fill the required information such as your name, the agenda item you're interested in, or your position on the bill. Once your registration is submitted, you will see a confirmation screen, and you will also be able to receive an email with the phone number and meeting ID to call into that meeting. Just as a note for all of you today, that while meeting registration is required to participate, it does not guarantee you ability to speak. And similar to previous sessions, testimony and public comment may be limited due to time constraints. When you are on the phone line, please pay attention to which bill is being considered and when the bills are listed on the meeting's agenda, and also to be able to follow the verbal prompts when provided by the broadcasting and production services, so that you know the keys to press to raise your hand or unmute yourself. Senate Bills 33 and 43 are on the agenda to be heard today. BPS staff will call on you to speak by the last 3 digits of your phone number. Detailed instructions for participation in the committee meetings are also available on the help page, which is listed at the banner at the top of every page on NELIS. And if you ever need any assistance with any of these processes, or if you would like to receive electronic notification of the committee's agendas and minutes, always feel free to please contact our committee manager at the committee email listed on the agenda. So with that, now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and proceed with our first bill hearing. I will now open the hearing on SB 33, and this measure revises certain provisions relating to natural resource and management. Will the bill presenter please proceed when ready? And I believe today we have the Division of Forestry and the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. So whenever you are all ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Casey, State Forester Fire Warden for the Nevada Division of Forestry. Thank you for having me here today to provide testimony on Senate Bill 33. This bill makes revisions to Nevada Revised Statute 472 and 528, which are 2 statutes that provide NDF's primary work focus and define its mission of providing natural resource and wildland fire management services to Nevada citizens and visitors to enhance, conserve, and protect rangelands and watershed values, endangered plants, and other native flora. Senate Bill 33 provides better statutory alignment for the division between the work staff perform and the landscapes in which they perform the work. As I'm sure you all are aware, Nevada is the most arid state in the United States. Consequently, much of the state's landscapes are comprised of plant species adapted to low amounts of precipitation in the low-lying valleys and steppes. These landscapes are classified as deserts or rangelands, the exception being forests on higher elevation mountain ranges. NDF's natural resource managers provide assistance to landowners regardless of vegetation type. Improving conditions in forests, rangelands, deserts, wetlands, and watersheds and other vegetation types has and will continue to be the division's focus. Senate Bill 33 clarifies that NDF is not solely focused on forest management, but that the division manages all varied renewable natural resources found across Nevada. In addition, Senate Bill 33 expands the identified uses for the division's nursery produced plants to include practices like xeriscaping, water conservation, providing wildlife habitat, and sustaining local economies. NDF has a conservation plant materials program that enhances its ability to provide conservation plant materials and technical natural resource assistance to support Nevada citizens. NDF operates 2 plant nurseries, one in Las Vegas and one in the Washoe Valley, and a seed bank in the Washoe Valley under this plant material program. These are all engulfed in one enterprise budget account. Statute requires that the division's plants be used for conservation purposes. Since the establishment of the program, the science of natural resource conservation has evolved to include values previously not considered. Finally, Senate Bill 33 strikes artifacts from NRS 472, for which the state forest or fire warden no longer has jurisdictional responsibility. Prior to the abolishment of NRS 473 in the 76th session of the Nevada Legislature, NDF had the authority to run all-risk fire protection districts through local government agreements with participating entities. With those jurisdictional authorities came the responsibility to oversee development and vegetation management standards within those participating jurisdictions and districts. The abolishment of NRS 473 removed those responsibilities from the state forest or fire warden and placed them back with the local government fire protection districts. I have supplied a proposed amendment striking the changes contained in sections 15 to 17, most of section 18 minus subsection 3, and section 20 of SB 33. These changes would directly impact the State Fire Marshal's Office and statute NRS 477. Though the State Fire Marshal is responsible for the adoption of the Wildland Urban Interface Code for the state of Nevada, enforcement responsibility for private landowners is at the local government fire protection district level, not at the State Fire Marshal's level. Thank you for your consideration of Senate Bill 33, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. At this time, are there any questions from any of my committee members? Senator Hansen.
Thanks, Chair. Can you hear me okay? Oh, am I there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. Casey, it's great to see you again. Welcome to another session. A couple of questions. When the state fire marshal portion of the bill, will they get to have some level of authority over determining roofing materials? Is that kind of a new concept, or does the state fire marshal already have authority in other sections to deal with, what kind of roofing materials?
Thank you for the question, Senator Hansen. For the record, again, Casey. That's why we proposed striking those. Those came out of our, directly out of our statutes in 472. The State Fire Marshal is on the line today to give you a better understanding if need be, but they do have, the State Fire Marshal in current statute does have the ability to adopt the Wildland Interface Code for the state of Nevada, as I stated earlier. In the Wildland Urban Interface Code are building compliance, defensible space, requirements and other standards for fire safing or adapting communities. He always has had the ability to adopt that at the state level, but it's really enforced at the local government level. They can adopt more stringent standards, but they cannot adopt less stringent standards than those of the state.
Okay, so you're just getting it out of your section and putting it where kind of it's all where it belongs. The other thing I noticed, you guys are making it so you're no longer required to use indigenous plants. Are you guys doing that so you can use like forage kochia, some more exotic things, crescent wheatgrass, things like that?
Thank you for the question again, Casey. No, we didn't make any changes about the use of indigenous or non-native or native species. We have always been able to use non-natives, and there's definitely a place in rehabilitation and revegetation practices across the state using non-native species and growing them in our nurseries. We tried to grow species that are adapted to this area, but are not necessarily native.
Oh, I misread that then. I thought you guys were currently restricted to only indigenous species, but because I think that's a good idea. There's a lot of good stuff out there that really helps, especially with fire breaks and things like that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Of course, thank you. Is there any other questions from any other committee members at this time?
Mr. Chair, could we is the state fire marshal available? I am kind of piqued by the fact that the state forester fire warden is no longer in charge of especially fire break fuel reductions close to residents. Is the state fire marshal online so we could is he going to have the ability to enforce this?
Yes, sir. I believe when I open testimony, they will be speaking at that time. Yeah. Any other questions from any of the other committee members?
Senator, may I respond quickly?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you again for the record, Casey. Senator Gocochea, we aren't taking that responsibility out. It's the enforcement of the codes that we're taking out. We still have the responsibility for fuel breaks in the state, and we still have responsibility to protect the Nevada's natural landscapes. The state fire marshal has the adoption of the WUI code. The enforcement of things like defensible space and the built environment lies at a different level. So it's not that we won't continue to do those practices. We just don't have enforcement responsibility for those, which we did have when we were all risk under 473.
And yeah, I agree with that. I'm just curious how, if the fire marshal has the ability to enforce it even on a limited basis.
Thank you. And again, for the record, Casey, we are proposing striking those additions to the state fire marshal's statutes in 477, other than a mirroring statute change that allows the state fire marshal and the Division of Forestry to continue to work together on some of these issues. But those would be stricken out of there, as they really are the local government's jurisdictional responsibility.
Thank you for that clarification.
At this time, are there any other questions from any of the committee members? Seeing none, thank you. So at this time, we will hear testimony in support of SB 33. As a reminder, we will be limiting all testifiers to 2 minutes each. Testifiers are encouraged to summarize their positions and submit more comprehensive testimony in writing. DPS, is there anyone on the line right now that would like to provide support for the testimony?
Thank you, Chair. We do have some callers. Callers to testify in support on Senate Bill 33. Please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 377. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hello, my name is Jana Moan, Jaina Moan, and I am the External Affairs Director for the Nature Conservancy in Nevada. Thank you for hearing my comment today. We are a global organization conducting science-based, on-the-ground conservation work to support our mission of conserving the lands and waters on which all life depends. The Nature Conservancy supports AB 33. We appreciate the replacement of the term reforestation with revegetation and the inclusion of rangelands in sections 10 through 14. We think this is a forward-thinking change that can help expand application of natural climate solutions for enhancing carbon sequestration on lands across the state. Regarding sections 3, 5, and 7, expanding the role of the state in assisting in revegetation efforts across ecosystems and jurisdictions is a positive step forward in the state's fight against the immediate threat of wildfire and the ongoing and related threat of climate change. In partnership with federal agencies, which have a critical role to play in revegetation efforts, we ask that the state commit to seeking the use of native plant materials wherever possible in alignment with the Nevada Native Seed Strategy, which has recently been adopted as a key pillar of the Shared Stewardship Agreement. Homegrown Nevada native plants provide enhanced ecosystem services and benefit agricultural communities, a win-win for nature and people. Section 11 of the bill particularly resonates with the restoration work the Nature Conservancy is doing in the headwater forests of the Truckee River. We have conducted studies and surveys of vegetative cover in the Truckee River watershed and on some rangelands in the state. We would be happy to provide the results from that research. We also recently entered into an agreement with and are working with the United States Forest Service to implement projects on Forest Service lands to reduce wildfire risks and protect watersheds. We would be interested in working with the state in a similar capacity. Thank you for hearing our comment today.
Thank you for your comment. BPS, really quick, I believe we have the State Fire Marshal on, so if he can come on for testimony.
No problems, Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mike Dezak. I am your State Fire Marshal. I am testifying in support of SB 33 with the as amended. The state forester and I having conversations felt like there was a lot that's already in 477 that allows me to take up a lot of those things that that this bill gets out of forestry's wheelhouse. We had some initial concerns talking to my Deputy Attorney General regarding responsibilities, authorities, expertise, and what it comes down to is I've already adopted the 2018 International Wildland Urban Interface Code. That becomes base code for the state. Local entities can adopt more stringent regulations as they see fit. During the last code adoption, we did have some fire chiefs had some concerns, so we didn't adopt it in its entirety. However, we did adopt the vast majority of it. We have limited enforcement, especially Nevada Revised Statute 477 naturally omits things like the residential code or dealing with private residents. And that's why I think we feel that the best place for that is in each local entity. The wildland high hazard fuels are different from county to county, and there's really no one size fits all. And we work with our rural partners and handle whatever they need us that's within our statutory authority. That's what I wanted to say. I'm happy to take any specific questions.
Thank you, sir. Do any of the committee members have any questions for him? Senator Hansen?
Sorry, Chair, I didn't see that you wanted me to do it a different way than just wave my hands. I'll work on that. Mike, how are you today? Good to see you. Quick question. From your testimony, are you guys in favor of this 477 part of the bill? I mean, almost sounded like you don't really want the responsibilities that the law is kind of throwing your way.
Hi, for the record, Mike Dezak, State Fire Marshal. No, I'm in support of it as amended. Some of the concerns were when it gets convoluted. We have in NRS 477, where my authorities are, we have population caps within Washoe and Clark and Carson City. And with the addition to those right where they were, we could run into potentially issues where my authorities were going where the statutes have taken them away. I have no concerns with the removal of those. In fact, when you broke most of it down, we already did a lot of that. I don't have the expertise as in that bill to say, hey, I'm going to go across the state of Nevada and I'm going to determine everybody's wildland urban interface. I lack those resources, the expertise within my staff. And again, it's, I think, a very local issue. The different types of fuels vary from county to county, from region to region. And we cover that and give them the ability to do that with the adoption of the wildland urban interface.
Oh, I got it. Hey, Mr. Chair, I don't know. Is the bill that we're looking at the amended portion? Is this the amended bill, or is there another amendment we haven't seen yet? Sorry.
Thank you for that clarification. So the bill is on Nellis and the amendment is also on Nellis as well. So both of those options are on there as well. Yep.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Senator Goycochea, if I could.
Go for it.
Thank you. Yeah, Mike, I guess I'm just a little bit apprehensive about, I know you got handed this, whether you've got the resources and ultimately you're going to end up in some rural jurisdictions that really don't have a ton of codes adopted. Are you going to have the ability to enforce, the fact that, yeah, they're not enforcing, defensible space, and maybe some of the buildings in place are, in fact, don't meet code?
Yes, again, for the record, Mike Dezak, State Fire Marshal. Our authority within the wildland, especially on private residence, is truly restricted. We deal more with commercial facilities. That's not to say that we don't do things that aren't specifically in our statute. For an example, if a rural county with no real building official, such as Esmeralda, came to us and they were going to build a Dollar General store, 477030 doesn't put Dollar General stores in my authority, but because there's no one there to do it, we just do it for them. We act as their official. But for us to think, I have limited resources to go and start, unless it were in a commercial. If it were in a commercial facility, it would be a lot easier for me to assert some authority in that area. But with private residences and the defensible space, and I mean the magnitude of the calls for tumbleweeds building up, and that is always rested with the local jurisdictions.
Just to follow up, if I may, Mr. Chair, and again, Mike, I guess what concerns me then, all right, are ranch residents, farmsteads, are they considered commercial or residential?
I'm sorry, Senator, you broke up I didn't hear the specific types.
Again, ranch properties, homesteads, ranch headquarters, are they commercial or are they deemed residential? If it's, I can just see you wandering out through Elko County here telling this guy, hey, clean the weeds up. I'm sorry.
Those would be residences. Those would be considered residences. And again, if you look into 477, other than code adoption, my codes apply throughout the state, yet my ability to enforce them has population caps in certain areas. They always have the base code. So if there's no one there and a rural county or city isn't adopting codes, my codes still apply at the base. The only time they can do things are when they're more stringent. They can add things to them. They can adopt parts that weren't adopted. They can adopt residential fire sprinklers. But we as an agency don't do that, and we were not in the business of getting into ranches and homesteads. And again, that's why I think the locals, if a local government came to us in a formal letter and asked us to intercede, and our DAG says, hey, this is something you can do. I mean, we can try it on a case-by-case basis, but there are not many sworn officers out there in the state, and we were forced to close the Elko office. So we have right now, I'm going to say, 2 officers, a sergeant and a lieutenant position in Carson, and 2 officers in Vegas, and that's it. 1 inspector in Carson, 1 inspector in Vegas full time. We've been handling things through contracts. We have one plans examiner. So, and again, the expertise of some of those requirements that were stricken, such as determining going into Elko County and saying, okay, well, this is the wildland for you guys, or going into Douglas County, my gosh, and saying this is what it is. That's a job for local government to determine what they consider that high fuel, high hazard in accordance with the adopted code.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other committee members with any other questions? I think we're ready to proceed. BPS, is there anyone else on the line that would like to testify in support of testimony, that would provide support testimony?
Thank you so much, Chair. As a reminder, we are currently in support testimony on Senate Bill 33. If you have recently joined the call and would like to testify in support, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no more callers in support at this time.
Great, thank you. Let's proceed forward. Next, we will hear testimony in opposition.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition on Senate Bill 33, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Great, thank you. And last but not least, is there anyone willing to testify in neutral on the bill?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in neutral on Senate Bill 33, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, it appears there are no callers in neutral at this time.
Great, thank you so much, BPS. Thank you to the presenters on this bill. At this time, seeing that there are no other comments, I will now close the hearing on SB 33. So at this moment, we will now proceed to Senate Bill 43. I will now open the hearing on SB 43. This measure revises provisions relating to the Advisory Board on Outdoor Recreation. Will the presenter, Mr. Colin Robertson, Administrator of the Division of Outdoor Recreation, State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, please proceed when ready.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Dunyate and members of the Senate Committee on Natural Resources. For the record, my name is Colin Robertson, and I am the administrator of the new Nevada Division of Outdoor Recreation in the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. I appreciate the opportunity to introduce and provide testimony in support of Senate Bill 43 today and to discuss a proposed amendment. Existing law, NRS 407A.575, establishes the Advisory Board on Outdoor Recreation, which consists of 11 voting members who advise the administrator of the Division of Outdoor Recreation on matters concerning outdoor recreation in Nevada. SB 43 proposes a simple change to NRS 407A.575 by adding 3 members to the existing 11-member advisory board. The 3 additional members proposed are, first, a Nevada Association of Counties representative serving as a voting member. Second, a U.S. Department of the Interior representative serving as a non-voting member. And third, a U.S. Department of Agriculture representative serving as a non-voting member. Each of these proposed members represents an important perspective regarding outdoor recreation in Nevada. The Nevada Association of Counties represents Nevada's counties and rural communities, which are gateways to some of Nevada's most beloved outdoor recreation experiences. Together, the U.S. Department of the Interior and the U.S. Department of Agriculture manage the majority of public land in Nevada. Therefore, these three perspectives are crucial to ensuring the advisory board broadly and effectively advises the Nevada Division of Outdoor Recreation on all matters concerning outdoor recreation throughout the state. Next, I would like to provide a quick overview of the proposed amendment, which is the result of discussions with the Nevada Association of Counties and a review of existing statutes regarding the makeup of boards and commissions in Nevada. The proposed amendment addresses Section 1, Subsection 1, Subsection 8, related to the Nevada Association of Counties representative. The amendment clarifies the qualification of the Nevada Association of Counties representative by requiring residents in a county with a population less than 100,000 and professional expertise or knowledge of outdoor recreation, natural resources management, and economic development in Nevada. With that overview, Chair Doñate, I am happy to answer any questions you or the committee may have. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. At this time, are there any committee members that would like to entertain?
Chair Doñate.
Go for it, Senator Goicoechea.
Senator Goicoechea. Okay, in the original bill, it says the executive director, and so that's been, actually, it will be a designee from the Nevada Association of Counties, and they will have those qualifications.
Thank you for the question. Colin Robertson, Administrator of the Nevada Division of Outdoor Recreation, for the record. Thank you, Senator, for the question. Yes, it was partly tied to the review of state statutes regarding the limitation on the number of boards or committees that an individual person is eligible to participate on. And yeah, that's the primary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you for that clarification. Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Robertson, for your presentation. I have a couple of questions. The first one is about the current makeup of the board. Could you give us a little bit of perspective on how many men and women serve on the board, whether we have any representatives from indigenous communities or tribes in Nevada on the board, and whether there are people with disabilities or members of the LGBTQ community on the board?
Thank you for the question, Vice Chair Scheibel. Colin Robertson, Division of Outdoor Recreation, for the record. Yes, the Advisory Board on Outdoor Recreation, as it was created in the 2019 session, included an 11-member advisory board when the legislation, the finished legislation passed. That makeup consists of 7 seats that are named by statute and 4 seats that are appointed by the governor via nominations. The makeup of the 7 seats named by statute are the chair is identified by statute as the lieutenant governor, followed by the director of the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, the executive director of the Governor's Office of Economic Development, the administrator of the Division of State Parks, the director of the Department of Wildlife, the director of the Department of Tourism, and
the Indian Commission.
The chairperson of the Nevada Indian Commission. Thank you, Senator. The gender makeup of the board is about equally split. The 4 appointed seats from the governor's office are seats that are members that represent professional knowledge, basically. One area is conservation interests. The second area is public health. The third area is education and workforce training, workforce development. And the fourth is economic, the outdoor industry. There is one member, the member of the chairperson of the Nevada Indian Commission is named by statute as an indigenous member of the advisory board. there are at this time that I am aware of, no one on the advisory board with a documented disability. Does that answer your question?
Could you break down the gender makeup for us? If you don't know, that's fine. I just don't know either.
I just have to take, I just might need to write myself a note here. So
that's fine. I can look it up later.
I'll come back to it if I can, if I might.
Okay. The other question that I have is, I mean, I think it's pretty clear what I'm getting at is that we need to make sure that the boards are sufficiently diverse. But I have a question unrelated to that, related to the federal government representatives serving on the board as non-voting members. And I'm wondering why, for the Department of the Interior, the bill includes the BLM, Park Service, or Fish and Wildlife, rather than just specifying like the Park Service, perhaps.
Thank you for the question, Colin Robertson, Division of Outdoor Recreation, for the record. The reason is that there are terms specified for the seats on the advisory board on outdoor recreation, and the Department of the Interior, with those three agencies, manages primarily through the Bureau of Land Management, a very large portion of Nevada. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, through the U.S. Forest Service, also manages a very large portion of Nevada's public lands. But the idea was to leave those seats tied to the overarching department, so that if an appropriate candidate from USDA Rural Development, for example, as compared to the U.S. Forest Service, becomes is nominated for participation, that the interests of USDA through either Rural Development or Forest Service could be represented by that seat. And by the same token, that the Department of Interior could be represented by a voice of someone on either the Bureau of Land Management, the Fish and Wildlife Service, or the Park Service.
Okay. Does that mean that there are already people in mind to fill these seats?
No, Colin Robertson, for the record, no, that is not the case. It's basically an effort to describe who the eligible agencies would be in the U.S. Department of Agriculture or in the U.S. Department of the Interior.
Thank you. I think that covers my questions. Appreciate your time.
Great, thank you. Senator Brooks.
Thank you, Chair Donate, and thank you, Mr. Robertson. My question is why? Why are you doing this? It's already a complicated looking board, and as somebody who served on the Sunset Subcommittee and a couple of terms in Commerce and Labor, we have a hell of a time managing any boards in the state of Nevada, and filling these boards. And the board as it exists has a level of specificity that I haven't seen on any other board. And now we're adding more positions with even more specificity. And I just need to understand why.
Colin Robertson, Division of Outdoor Recreation, for the record. Thank you for the question, Senator Brooks. I can say that in the principal reasons are tied to what I testified to earlier, which is that Nevada's rural places, counties and communities both, are gateways to some of the most important recreational assets in the state. And the perspective of someone from those rural gateway communities is something that's missing from the advisory board as it was designated in the 2019 passage of the legislation. And principally that aligned with the goals of the shared stewardship agreement, that it is important from an outdoor recreation standpoint as much as from a conservation standpoint to understand what the situations are for the Forest Service and the BLM as the principal land managers in the state of Nevada for public lands.
Well, that's a good goal, but I can just see this thing coming back and us having conversations about why you can't fill these seats or ever get a quorum, or this is a crazy complicated looking board. and I just, it's big. So yeah, okay, I appreciate your context that, the voices that you want on here. And it makes sense. Just good luck.
Thank you, Senator Brooks. Do we have any other last minute questions for our presenters? Seeing none, thank you. So BP, as a reminder, next we will go ahead and hear testimony in support of SB 43. As a reminder, we will be limiting all testifiers to 2 minutes each. Testifiers are encouraged to summarize their positions and submit more comprehensive testimony in writing. BPS, is there anyone on the line right now who would like to provide support testimony?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support on Senate Bill 43, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hi, this is Dagny Stapleton, Executive Director of the Nevada Association of Counties. DAGNY-STAPLETON. Good afternoon, Chair Donate and Senators. We are testifying in support of the bill today, in favor of the bill with the proposed amendment. And we want to thank DCNR and Administrator Robertson for asking for our input on this. We understand the vision of creating the advisory board on outdoor recreation to support outdoor recreation and the recreation economy in Nevada. And we recognize as well that a significant amount of outdoor recreation happens in rural communities. Our members agree that having a representative from rural Nevada whose local economies and livelihoods interface with outdoor recreation is important. Because NACO's board is made up of a representative from each county commission, including, of course, our 15 rural counties, we agree that NACO is the appropriate body to nominate an appointee for this board if the legislature so wishes. We think that this also creates an opportunity for the board to coordinate with Nevada's counties. Our rural commissioners are very connected to their communities and can help seek out the candidates who have the qualifications outlined in the amendment. Thanks so much.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 523. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. That's TOMCLARK. I come before you today on behalf of the Nevada Outdoor Business Coalition. We were one of the lead lobbyists in the creation of the new division and the advisory board that's on the agenda for today that's included in this particular piece of legislation. I will tell you that Mr. Robertson has done an extremely good job as the administrator of the new division. Short-staffed and short on resources, he has done a phenomenal job of carrying forward the mission of the division as it was prescribed in 2019. We very much support the bill that's before you and the amendment to include a member of the rural communities, those communities with less than 100,000 folks. And with the limited time, I could go into the history of how we came up with the advisory board originally, but I will tell you that in the creation of the division, in working with Ms. Carlton and the other stakeholders on AB 486 when it was crafted and passed, we modeled the advisory board after a lot of the other states that had been creating divisions or offices of outdoor recreation. And we took their guidance as to the number of folks that were on the advisory board and the disciplines that they would represent. So with that said, I very much support the legislation. And I would encourage you, and I believe it goes to Senator Brooks's comments, that this amendment not become a Christmas tree for others that want to join the advisory board. The intent behind the advisory board was simply to make it so that there was a forum for not just the members of the advisory board, but other stakeholder groups to participate in the conversation, ways that we can bolster and promote the outdoor recreation industry in our state. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
As a reminder, we are currently on support testimony on Senate Bill 43. If you have recently joined the call and would like to testify in support, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no more callers in support at this time.
Great, thank you. Next, we will go ahead and move in to hear testimony in opposition.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition on Senate Bill 43, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Great, thank you. And finally, is there anyone wishing to testify in neutral of the bill?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in neutral on Senate Bill 43, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you, BPS. Thank you to Mr. Robertson for presenting today. Seeing that there are no other testimonies or people wishing to testify, I will now close the hearing on SB 43. And just for a reminder for everyone's sake, both of these bills will be held for a future work session, and so we'll be hearing back from them. So at this time, I will now
Senator Donate, I think Mr. Robertson has a comment.
Oh, sure. Mr. Robertson, go right ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Colin Robertson for the record. I just wanted to revisit Vice Chair Scheibel's question about the makeup of the Advisory Board on Outdoor Recreation, if I could. And Senator Scheibel, the answer is that there are, of the 11 members, seven are men, 4 are women. But of the 7 men, all but 1 of them are in positions that are named by statute.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Seeing no other comments, again, I will now close the hearing on SB 43. We will now move on to public comment. So I will now call for public comment. Please remember to limit your comments to 2 minutes. BPS staff, is there any public comment?
Thank you, Chair. One moment. Chair, the public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time wishing to provide additional public comment.
Great, thank you. Members, are there any more comments before we would adjourn today? From anyone?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go for it.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
In the first bill, the Nature Conservancy the lady testified. She mentioned that they've done some studies on, I think she said the Truckee River watershed, and she'd be happy to share those with us. Can you make a request? I would like to see those. So if she's still listening, but I'd like to get a copy of the watershed reports or studies or whatever it is she was talking about. She's out there still. Can you help them get that to me, please?
Of course, I'll direct our committee staff to help us with that. Thank you for bringing that up. Any other comments? So seeing no other comments, just as a reminder for everyone, our next meeting is Tuesday, February 16th at 3:30 p.m. And we will be hearing 2 bills. Those are Senate Bills 23 and 52. So thank you all for joining us today, and this meeting is now officially adjourned.